So yesterday we were talking about just this is some of the wider philosophy, which gets very can get heady and intellectual, which is why I'll record some of these sessions for you and send them to you so that you can review them and remember them. One of the translations for the word samsara is the place where one forgets. Because we have all these good intentions, don't we, a lot of the time, and we realise all these things, and all of a sudden it all gets forgotten and we go back to how we were. So part of this kind of process is continually refreshing ourselves, remembering all the different teachings, and then also coming back to this experience of being conscious, because your mind will constantly pull itself into thoughts. So while we're doing a simple practice of meditation here, focusing on the breath, allowing the mind to rest, realising the mind's aware and resting as awareness, what we're really looking to do is to live like this. Lots of people think meditation is something you do 20 minutes a day, it makes you feel good. It's not that at all. It's a complete paradigm shift. And really what meditation is just a very short reminder of how we should live our day, which is that there's this experience of being conscious and there's everything else that's happening in it, the content of that. And how we should live is that we feel that we're aware and we can feel everything rising and falling in us. We don't feel any distinction from everything that's rising and falling, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, the world around us. But we're not clinging to it or chasing after it or trying to manipulate it. This is where we get into problems. This is where our suffering is caused. This resistance to what is. Life is what it is. There's nothing wrong with life. Life does what life does. What arises is our resistance to something that's arising or has arisen. We say there's a problem with that, and that should not happen. And that either happens because we want to get rid of something that we have that we can't get rid of, or we want to keep something that we have that we can't keep. So there's this grasping and clinging. And the reason why that's so bad for us, the reason why it's so unhealthy and makes us so unhappy, is because everything outside of you has a beginning, a middle and an end. Everything outside of you has this beginning, middle and end. Everything outside of you is coming and going of its own accord. It arises out of conditions, and then when the conditions change, it collapses. Our own body, the weather, our own thoughts, everything is simply arising as conditions and then collapsing. Life is like this rainbow, things coming together, they come and then they're gone. If you're in that process and you're going to have a very, very unhappy time. You're fighting a fight that you cannot win. This is the thing about enlightenment, about self-realization, is actually enlightenment and self-realization is not where you have supreme powers, and it's not where you're getting everything that you want. It's the bliss of surrender. It's the bliss of looking at life and going, okay, And it's very, very interesting what happens when you do that. Very, 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 very interesting. All of a sudden life, the tone of it changes. Because you stop waging war with things. You stopped waging war with life, and instead you've surrendered. And because you've surrendered, there is peace. So there is peace with what's coming and going, It means that we have to have an incredible amount of courage, really. We have to have an incredible amount of courage to have this view. We have to sit here and say, it's okay that everything's coming and going. I accept it. We have to sit here and say, I accept that my health isn't what I want it to be. We have to arrive at this deep sense of acceptance. But if you do, you can find great peace. And that's really all that you want, isn't it? We've sold this idea that you have to be happy, happy, happy all the time, but it would not be a good thing. We've sold this idea that you should get what you want all the time. But we even know that's not a good thing with our own children, don't we? If we give a child everything that it wants, what happens? Disaster. It's the same with us. What we would like to do if we could is to to omit all of these experiences in life that we don't want, that don't make us feel good. But if you look into your strength of character, if you look into your wisdom, if you look into your kindness, if you look into your empathy, they're entirely dependent upon your misery and suffering. You would not have them if you didn't have those challenges. That those challenges, are like the pressure that turns a coal into a diamond. Those challenges that you face, that's where you become strong. You look at all the animals you see in England, you could lie down in a forest for 6 weeks and nothing would bite you or kill you, because the climate is so benign and it's so soft. I mean, we don't like the rain, but actually the climate itself is very hospitable. You go to Australia, not hospitable. And what do you find with all the animals? They're also not very hospitable, The animals are strong, they're powerful, they attack, they defend. You wouldn't want to get in a fight with one. And you wouldn't want to lie down in the... How long would you be able to lie down in the bush in Australia without getting bitten? A couple of minutes? Maybe a couple of hours if you're lucky? So what this goes to show is that actually harsh environments create strength. And that's what this experience of life is doing to us. Carving out strength, carving out strength. They often use the symbol of the lotus in Buddhism and in Vedic philosophy, and this lotus. And there's this beautiful lotus, and it's immaculate, and it grows in these incredible muddy waters. It's not touched by the mud, but it requires the mud. No mud, no lotus. So that's what we have as human beings. We have a lack of an awareness about what crafts us, what enables us to even exist, And so with ignorance, we go through our lives going, and I don't want that, and I don't want this, and I wish that didn't happen, and I wish that didn't happen, and I wish so-and-so was still here, and I wish I could have that, and I don't want this, and this, I want more money, I want more this. If you could create the life that you wanted, it would be hell. It would be hell. Imagine if you could create this perfect realm of where nothing actually stuck. Everything just come and went and moved and flexed. And within that, somehow, the creation of strength and love and all these qualities could appear out of nowhere. Imagine if you could create a place like that. Wouldn't that be like a heaven? That's what you have. You have this beautiful existence where nothing fixes. Everything is just coming and going, neither here nor there. Flow of life, Nothing is stuck, is it? Everything comes, it has its day, and then it crashes. It's like waves of an ocean, If you just think you're a wave, this is going to be a very, very hard time. But if you realise your nature as the ocean, if you realise that you are life incarnate, if you realise, as I was saying yesterday, through this, if you examine even the science of evolution, you look at the universe around you and you realise that you're clearly not separate from it. And you really begin to experience this, you really begin to contemplate this to the point where you fuse with that experience. This is what the promise of this meditation, this path is. It's a fusion. Yoga means to create union. If you create that union with the ocean, does the deepest part of the ocean care what's happening on the surface? And so this is what we're doing with meditation. We're just going to the deepest part of the ocean. Sitting, resting, being, and just getting okay with whatever the waves are doing. Maybe there's a storm up top. Maybe not. Maybe it's a sunny day. But we're coming back into this deeper place. This deeper place. So this is why this teaching is so important when we meditate. Because it turns meditation into, rather than, some people come to see me, they've been meditating for 35 years. I always know I'm going to have a hard time when someone rings me up and says, I've been meditating for 35 years. I've done the technique and the too long and the this and the I'm like, oh shit, here we go. But I can't find enlightenment. I've tried. And it's so elusive. And I'm still suffering. And it takes me a lot of courage to tell them they've wasted their time. Meditating in a way that's not quite meditation. You know, it becomes an expression of how they live their life. You know, no, I'm going to get it. You know, so this is why this teaching is so important, because it's a deep acceptance of life. It's a deep acceptance of our suffering. It's a deep acceptance of our humanness. It's a deep rest, and it's a deep awareness of the fact that you're already what you're looking for. You're not seeking to become anything. You just rest, because you've already found it. You're already it. I can't give you what you already are. People say to me, how do I find consciousness? It makes me laugh. How do you lose consciousness? I mean, how could I give you something that... How are you aware of the sound of my voice? You're conscious, aren't you? I can't give it to you. I can't top it up. I can't increase it. I can't decrease it. You just are what you are, you know? So this is why meditation becomes like this. You know, we must realise we're already what we're looking for. We're already what we're looking for. You know, and allow all of our, you know, the whole tone of our lives just to sink into this. You know. That's why when you look at Buddhas, they're kind of like, they've got those I don't give a shit eyes, but I do give a shit eyes, you know? Because they don't care what's happening, but they care so deeply about beings. Because they're safe, they're okay, they have self-knowledge. You know, they're not in panic, they're not in fight or flight anymore. You know, they're not trying to scrabble around and get what they want because they've accepted everything. So all of a sudden their eyes open, you know. They start seeing people around them, you know. And they start realising, obviously, that they realise very deeply that they're completely the same thing as everything around them. This is why the Buddha becomes outwards facing. Rather than, I want, like, there's this gushing out of attention and compassion and love and kindness, you know, because they have a profound safety within them, you know. They have a profound richness within them, and so they can give, you know. From this realisation, that's why. It's not I'm deciding I'm going to be a good person and I'm going to be compassionate. They don't do that. Bodhicitta, what arises from this contemplation, from this teaching, the spontaneous wish for all beings to be free from suffering. It is spontaneous. It arises naturally in your being, like this. When your mind goes into a state of rest and stays there long enough, you become very, very concerned by what other people are feeling. Very, very concerned. You know, not people-pleasing, not this at all. But you see suffering, you see the causes of suffering within yourself, and you see everyone running around like a madman, doing all the things that they think are trying to make them happy, but really they're making them sad. You know, and you feel a profound sense of responsibility to help and to assist and to love. You know, strange, isn't it? Just by realising the truth of reality and accepting things as they are, all of a sudden all this love and compassion and wisdom wells up. Strange, isn't it? All this kicking around and resisting life, and we're miserable, and yet when we sit and rest and just be, all of a sudden we're these great beings. It's all good news, isn't it, really? It's all good news. Any questions before we begin? So just get ourselves nice and comfortable. So now for the real teaching. Silence. Just allowing the mind to rest. Not trying to gain anything or attain anything. There's nothing we can gain or attain. We are what we're looking for. There's no real point in meditating even. So instead we're just going to sit and rest. Noticing how we're aware of everything, aware of the breath moving in and out, the sounds around you. Spontaneous awareness. You're not doing anything, are you, to be aware? You're unconditionally aware, aren't you? You're not picking and choosing what you're aware of. Your mind's just illuminating everything. So you're not really a very judgmental creature. The mind is, but your nature's not. Effortlessly and unconditionally aware. Not having to do anything to be aware, simply aware. And thoughts, they just rise off you and fall off you, don't they? They burst into life and they disappear. So we don't really need to be worried about them coming and going because that's what they do. It's very, very clear that we're not our thoughts because we're sitting and watching them, aren't we? We're the knower of this thinking mind, aren't we? We seem to be aware of thought and also aware of the absence of thought. In fact, if we meditate and we sit and we rest and we're looking for thoughts, are they even there? Could you find one? There's times sometimes we try running away from thoughts in meditation, but let's not do that. Let's sit and let's look. Sit and let's look at the mind. Body's breathing all by itself. Also notice that the body's thinking all by itself. You often say, I think, but that's not the case, is it? You're not choosing your thoughts. As you sit and as you rest, they simply burst into life and then disappear. Just allowing all desire to fall away. Allowing the mind to fall into a deep sense of acceptance. Whatever's going on, whether it's peace, turbulence, joy, pain, let it Completely surrender the mind. Allow the mind to become desireless. If desires arise, place no value on them. Not trying to get rid of thoughts, not trying to calm the mind. The mind is constantly trying to profit and avoid loss. But isn't it that your consciousness is unceasing, changeless? Whatever is arising in the mind actually, isn't it true that there's no effect on this experience of consciousness, the baseline, the base, primordial aspect of the mind? It's completely and utterly unaffected by anything coming and going, and so why do you worry about what's coming and going? Can't grasp hold of consciousness, can we either? It's not a physical thing, is it? If you try and pinpoint it, you can't. It's kind of empty self-knowingness, isn't it? You can't find consciousness, but it's clearly there. You know that you're aware. It's like an emptiness that's full of existence. Nothing we can put our finger on. The thoughts burst from this and disappear back into it like clouds, form in the sky and then disappear back into it. So now just slowly opening our eyes. Just noticing how you're aware of every object, every colour. How How's your mind doing that? How is it that you're illuminating everything? I'm very complacent about this experience, but how are you doing this? There's no colour in anything that you're looking at. Your mind's painting it. The objects that you're looking at that you think are outside, your mind is recreating an image of outside inside itself. Your mind is literally manifesting reality. Try and find where this consciousness is. Where is it? Is it in the body? Is it 5 feet outside? Is it in the distance? Find its point of origin. Your obsession with the mind and your thoughts and your body has contracted your experience. And they talk about this experience of oneness. This is not just a feeling you have inside yourself of feeling at one with everything. It's a deep recognition that you are one with everything. You can't separate yourself from anything else. You can't see where your mind's consciousness begins and the object itself starts. Everything is really one homogeneous experience, isn't it? It has no barrier. You can't find barriers to anything. And this is what this process is. It's an inquiry into what's actually happening. What is the content of this experience? Or rather, not the content of it, but what is the actuality of it, what's happening here. Because what you convinced yourself is happening is not. You've created a fictitious entity within your mind, your sense of self, who you are. And you've got a big list of preferences and traumas and things you think are important, things you think you want. Been hallucinating. When we really look at what's there, we don't find a sense of self. We find this unfindable, unknowable, unfathomable experience of consciousness. When I say unknowable, I mean the intellect can't grasp it. this is what our nature is, not this overlay. Our nature is this awareness. You know, the word person comes from the Greek persona, mask. They knew. The mask. All these ideas you have about yourself. People think that's a terrifying thought, but really think about it. Really think about what you are. If you're not a self, what are you? Who were you before you had language? When you were a baby? You still existed, didn't you? Before a thought rose in your head about who you are and what you liked and what you didn't, you still existed. You can't be the self-construct. Oh no, I'm not a self. I don't exist. No, you don't exist as you think you do. You're free from that prison. When we look, we just find this very simple awareness. So this process of inquiry and meditation is going back to that, looking into the nature of that, realizing things about it. Its consistency, its changelessness, its stability, its strength. You know, whatever happens in your life, it's not affected. And when we sit and we stew in that experience of awareness, this suffering, selfish, damaged self collapses, and in its place, this very different type of creature emerges, this compassionate, kind, wise. All from this simple experience of reconnecting to this simple experience of being aware, you know. So try and stay aware of this. Your mind will try and hijack you and take you on a journey today. A journey with your sadness and your joy and your grief and what you like and what you don't like, and he said and she said, and I like this one and I don't like that one, and but you don't have to go on that train if you don't want to. And even if you do go on it, it doesn't really matter. Because this awareness is always waiting for you, pure and pristine. No matter how many stories you've told or drama you've caused for yourself and others, your own nature lies for you and open. Any questions about anything?
You're talking often about looking, about see, about vision. Because I'm a photographer, I'm very interested about that.
Yeah.
One day a Tibetan monk told me, I asked him, what is really meditation? He told me, when you take pictures, you're meditating. When you're concentrated, it's a kind of meditation.
Mm-hmm. When you're focusing on anything at the exclusion of everything else, what it does is that your attention moves away from everything else. Because you're focusing on one thing, your thoughts begin to fall and your mind begins to rest. So you begin to experience like a type of meditation. And when they talk about seeing, what we begin to see with in meditation is what we're talking about is seeing with our mind rather than our eyes. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're seeing with our mind. And really, if you look, that's what's happening, isn't it? Or even here now, you're seeing with your mind. Your eyes might be pulling in certain parts of information, your ears, others, taste, sensory systems feeding things in, but it's your mind that's seeing, isn't it? It's that seeingness that I'm interested in, you see. It's that seeingness. It doesn't ever change, and this is what I want people to kind of go to, is that, you notice you're aware of the sound of my voice, whether you've had enough of it or not. You're aware of the sound of my voice, you're aware of the sensations in the body, you're aware of colours and objects, you're aware of pain, you're aware of joy. This seeingness it just is. You know? And it has not the least bit interest in manipulating this experience. Your mind is profoundly powerful. It's creating everything around it, you know, painting colour on it, aware of all objects, creating depth, creating space. It's very, very powerful, but it will not get rid of your suffering. Why? There's something useful about it. That's why. You, in your ignorance, think, I want to get rid of it. Your mind, all powerful, all seeing, all knowing, knows there's quality to this. You know? So yeah, this is this seeing. It's a kind of, it starts off as a kind of intellectual seeing sometimes, and then all of a sudden, from an intellectual seeing, you see it, you know, it becomes true, you know? You see the truth of it. It's like when you start realising Santa Claus doesn't exist. You have to go, everyone's like, oh no. I'm so close to Christmas, I'm killing people's dreams. But it's, you see, when you're a kid, you start going, I'm not sure if Santa Claus this, and you kind of think, why do my parents stay up late? And this carrot, well, it doesn't look like a deer's taking a bite out of it. It looks like a human mouse taking a bite out of it. And all these presents, you know, where do they get them from the shop, don't they? Your mind pieces things together, and then all of a sudden there's obvious, you know? There's no Santa. And you see it, don't you? If I held a gun to your head now and say you must unsee that Santa Claus doesn't exist, I'd have to shoot you, wouldn't I? Because you can't unsee it. And this is what happens with this teaching. You know, you start to see things, your mind goes, and all of a sudden it becomes you realise it is actually your present experience. Your experience is like this. In some of the scriptures, they talk about these teachings, and then they say, is your mind like that? And then they do another thing, and then, is your mind like that? They want you to look within your own experience. So yeah, it's all about seeing. The whole teaching's about seeing. I suppose it's the same with your photography, isn't it? There's part of the visual, and then there's the atmosphere and the light and all these things come in, you know?
Yes, but I can take picture only of things that exist, of reality.
Yeah.
But you're talking about to see other things.
Well, it's to see reality as it is. So what's happening is because our mind is obscured by delusions about the way we function, the way reality functions, the clouds come in. And what this teaching does is it tries to strip away the clouds so that then there's a seeing of reality as it is. There's an undermining of how you believe yourself to be, and there's an arrival at seeing things as they are. Seeing things as they are is not we don't develop a belief system in this teaching. So we're not developing a set of constructs about what we believe. So I don't want you to go in there, I believe this, and I believe this, and I believe that. What we're looking to do here is to completely annihilate any kind of construct and belief system in your mind, to the point where you just sit and you just are, and you're just seeing what's arising and letting it be, you know. So it's this great undoing of these obscurations, they call them, in the mind, and then an allowance of existence, you know, non-conceptualized state of knowingness. You know, we're taking the mind beyond its constructions. You know? And people often say, oh, this teaching is very confusing and it's very heady. It's supposed to be. That's part of the way it works. You know, it turns your head upside down and pulls your brain out of your ears and sees what's left. You know, and using all of these different concepts to pull apart yours. You know, to bash away at how you see reality, and hopefully you're left with, I don't know. But I'm here.
So how do your memories connect
They're just
based
memories.
on your, the reality you had at the time.
So your memories are just memories of events. They're flashes of experience. They're a moment of experience that the mind had.
When you think back, and because that can happen quite often, you'll be sitting, you remember things and you think,
Yeah, you can have memories. It's wonderful to have memories. They're like snapshots of our past, They're photographs of the mind, our memories. They're beautiful. But don't piece them all together and say, that's me. That's an error. They're just things that happen. We piece our memories together and then we create this idea that that's who I am. No, that's what happened to you. That's not who you are. That's the experiences that you had. Who's this one that's experiencing these experiences? To whom do the memories belong? Go and find that one. And you know this instinctively, because you just said my memories. Isn't it? You know it. I'm telling you something really deep down you already know. Who's this my you're talking about? You say my thoughts, don't you? Who's this my? You tell yourself lots of stories about what this my is, but I want you to go and look within your own mind. When you say I think, who's this I that's aware of thinking? When you say my memories, who's this my, this I that's aware of memories coming and going? You need to find this one. Funny, isn't it? We run around the whole day going, I, me, oh, no. We're so consumed with what I want and what I want to do and what I like and what I don't like. We never sit and work out what I is. We never spend enough time sitting with what that I is. And that's all I'm telling you to do in meditation. Forget your thinking and your thoughts and whatever you're experiencing and your trauma and blah, 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 and what you want for your future. Go to this I, this beingness here, and sit with that. You find something very different to what you think you are. And it's certainly not dependent on memory. It existed prior to those. It gets so deep, the experience of this I, that it's inexplainable. And then it collapses. And that's even more unexplainable. So memories are fun, and not fun. But they're okay. You should let everything come and go in your mind. But realise you're already free from it.
So the idea of to arrive to open this eye and to see through this eye.
You're already seeing through that eye, but it's to see that, to go to that, to go to that sense of yourself beyond your thoughts and stay there and look. That's it.
So I have to buy a new camera.
Exactly.
When you're meditating, do you see anything? Do you see colors or?
You can see all sorts of things.
But for you?
I see all sorts of different things sometimes, but you're not to grasp hold of them.
Yeah, just let them go.
Yeah, let them come and go. And it's very tough. Sometimes when you start, you see colours when you meditate. Oh, I see colours. Colours change into other things. And those things you will grasp hold of. Sometimes I get caught in a loop of chasing after my meditative experiences, even though I know that's not what meditation is about, because sometimes they're very vivid, deep, profound, life-changing experiences that you have. And your mind goes, oh, I want to keep that, I want it again, I want it again. And interestingly, when you explore this teaching and your mind becomes meditative, you start having them not while you're sitting down, you start having different experiences while you're walking around. Some of my deepest meditations have actually been driving on the way to work. Some of my deepest meditations, all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you experience within your mind. When you sit with this experience of consciousness, it's a profound thing. When you first start looking at it, it's like, oh, mindfulness. People talk about mindfulness and being aware of sounds and sensations, and so, oh, it's a simple mindfulness. What's the point in this? Or who cares? Yeah, I'm aware. Big deal. You just go there for long enough. Ooh, you take the lid off Pandora's box. Nice box though. But it is, So when you sit and meditate and you see colours or you see anything else, let them come, let them go. That's it. Whatever comes is not you. And whatever goes was not you. Just always remember that. And it's what you want to find is your nature. That which is not coming or going.
So Cornelius, if you have a memory and you say they're not our memories, but it's a thing that happened to you in the past. If you've had a very bad, which I haven't had, thank God, but if you've had a terrible traumatic experience, for example, that that people say they can't get that image out of their minds. Unless you understand the I, unless you are able to recognise that is not your memory, you're never going to be free from that memory. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no. As long as you believe you are the content of your thoughts and your experiences and your memories, as long as you say that's me, then you're not going to lose it because or it's always going to affect you because it's part of you, isn't it? But what I'm saying is when you look at this state of beingness, when you look at this state of consciousness that knows all these experiences coming and going, this itself is not affected by anything that you've had happen to you. The best thing in the world that's happened to you and the worst thing in the world that's happened to you, you are fundamentally not affected by it. Your mind is, motions and feelings, and that's all great. Let it be affected. We still want to grieve, we still want to have ups and downs, but not so up, not so down. We still want to have that experience of life, but through the clarity of recognizing my own underlying nature, And when we do that, when we notice this consciousness or this awareness, or we go to this I-ness, we can all sorts of different ways in which we can come back to this consciousness. But what we find is something that even betrays all those words. And we find it's completely free from anything, and always was and always will be. And therefore you let go of everything. Your experiences that you really think, and I had a lot of stuff happen to me. I had a nervous breakdown. I had 8 years of kind of suicidal thoughts. I had some, terrible things that I'd gone through. All relative. People obviously have worse things that happen than me, but I had a lot of things happen in a quick succession, and they completely destroyed my mind. And I believed that was me traumatized, because what I did is the impact of that. When something happened, I held on to that impact. That's, now I'm traumatized, now I'm damaged, and now that's happened to me, and I'm not going to... Then I created a big story about that event, and it became something. And then what I realised when my underlying nature revealed itself was that it doesn't actually matter. All of that trauma, all of the things that I've gone through was just stuff that happened. It absolutely does not define me. Not through my choice, not because I'm not going to let this define me. Through the realisation of my very nature, it does not define me. These experiences come and they go. And the one that they're coming and going to, the sense of self doesn't exist. And there's just this empty awareness that's already free. So yeah, your mind's pristine, perfect, profoundly safe. And I talk about nature of the mind when it hasn't been seen or realised. It's a confusing thing. So to start off with, have faith enough in the teaching where you think, maybe this guy's not crazy. Maybe he says enough things that make me think that maybe he knows what he's talking about. Initially then accept in your mind that the possibility that your mind is profoundly safe, profoundly unaffected, unchanging. Give yourself the opportunity to find out that it is indeed those things. It's the best news in the world, especially if you've been through anything, I mean, and me, with my trauma, and you have psychologists and psychiatrists telling you your mind now is beyond any point of cure, what we're going to try and do is manage your symptoms, but at the moment the medication that we're giving you is unable to do that. You may as well have been born in the Middle Ages, because there's nothing we can do. Perhaps we'll try this drug next, but you'll have to come in and get your liver tested every 2 weeks because it has such severe side effects. You know, when you hear that and you go off and get about your day, you know, your idea of yourself is something that's, well, you're irreparable. You're irreparably damaged. Everyone's got on with their lives. They've got married. They've had careers. They've been to uni. I didn't do any of those things. I stayed in bed and I ate and slept. I didn't even sleep very well or eat very well. You know. So that this where someone had, 10 years of life, I had 10 years of just trying to get through the day. I used to drive myself outside the psychiatric ward, because my mind would get so, I thought I'm going to go to the point where I lose all control of myself and my behaviour and my thoughts. So I used to go and sit outside the psychiatric ward every now and again when it got really bad. And my mind was, not functional. And yet instantly, when I saw the nature of my mind, as I said, some people it happens instantly and some people it takes a while of exploring. But my mind was so catastrophically damaged in a way. My idea of myself was so catastrophically damaged that the framework of it was so loose that when the teacher said to me, "Your awareness, you're not your thoughts," that was it. You're free. And the power with which he said it, conviction. I walked out of there, and from having my thoughts of, oh, I'm awful, this is awful, why has this happened? And the feeling that gives you, that, gone. And there were just birds singing, and traffic, people arguing at the market, monkeys jumping up and down, shadows wandering around, people getting off the bus, and I was just crying, It's all alright, it's all okay. It's all been this hallucination in my mind, and I'm not that. I've been clinging on to all these ideas and thoughts about myself. I've been resisting everything that's happened in my life and chasing after a life that I could never have, that everyone else around me did. All gone. So yeah, don't worry about anything that's happened to you. You'll realise as well, all these things that have happened to you that are the worst things that you think in your life, they're not the worst things. And when that moment happens, when you see and realise yourself, or when you develop this kind of perspective, you see that the tragedy in your life is what pushed you towards this. I can't teach this to someone who's really happy. Very, very difficult. Why do you let go of everything if you're having a good time? Oh, don't want this, don't want that, let go of your desires. I say it to some people and they're like, huh? You fucking crazy? Like, I'm having some fun here. I'm like, okay, I'll see you soon. Wait a while, because this is what life does. Eventually we have disaster, don't we? All of a sudden one day everything's great, and then all of a sudden one day it's not. You can't manufacture the desire to be free from delusion. Can't manufacture it. When you've had enough, when you're sick to the back teeth of it, when you're suffering, when you're grieving, when you've really had enough, that's when you listen to this. So all of your disasters are really the crucible from which your enlightenment arises. So all of the awful things that people have done to you, they've really been your greatest teachers. There's no more enemies. There's no more horrific experiences that I wish had never happened. It all rests in this perfection. Good news, eh? Anyway, I shall stop rabbiting and let you have some breakfast. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you this afternoon.
Thank you.